I guess I've always loved the snow. Where I live, it's not very much of a common occurrence. Like, it gets cold a lot, but you never get snow.
You may be looking at 1 to 3 days every 2 years if you're lucky.
Because of that, every single year we go out and we try to explore places around the country to try and take advantage of like those rare opportunities, but it just never really goes our way. The first time that environment caught my attention was in 2019. Me and a small film crew went up to Kinderscout, which is the tallest point in the Peak District within the UK, to film a short film. The car journey is where this sort of idea started. We're driving along, and for the first 20 minutes of the drive, it's sunny days, clear roads, everything's really bright and sunny.
But as we kept travelling along, the road just changed. It went from the clearest road ever to just deep in snow. These massive snow chunks just started falling down and the weather just changed like that. The snow got worse and worse and the car got harder and harder to control. So we decided to turn off into a service station. And as we turned off into the service station and parked up, it started snowing more and more and getting heavier.
So I don't know if anyone's noticed, but me and Adam are currently stuck in a massive snowstorm. This is the calmest it's been in about an hour.
Now usually, most people would find it a bit boring being stuck in a service station, not knowing when you're going to get out, not knowing when you're going to get to the place you need to be. But we saw this as a great opportunity to take some amazing photos and videos, and that's what we did.
Me and Adam, we get our cameras out, we start shooting, and that's when it sort of hit me like, whoa, look at the photos that we are getting. And we took these amazing shots, and from that point I was like, what would the mountains look like? What would these massive landscapes look like covered in snow? I just sort of realised what sort of experience we'd have to go through to get those shots.
Filming in a random service station by the side of the road isn't exactly a life achievement.
The snow dies down and we get moving again, and we wait a day to get to the mountain. And when we get there, it's good. It is good, but it's not amazing. There was just too many problems. One being there wasn't enough snow, and the other being that the weather conditions were just terrible.
Getting up that mountain was brutal. The fight against the 80-mile-an-hour winds and the now hail that was coming down and stabbing us every time it hit us. We had to stop so many times just to get our breath back.
We got about 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and we did get some really good shots, but if we went any higher, all you would just see is white fog. Later during the month, me and my friend Brody try and do the same thing, try and get the same photos, but just hope for the better conditions, and it's just the same again. White fog completely everywhere, even more than last time. So the next month after that, me and Emily go again.
This time it's really clear, you can see the whole landscape, but there's no snow.
And after all these attempts, we just start to think to ourselves, maybe Kinderscout isn't the place to go.
So we started looking at potential locations that we could go to, and one of the most aesthetically pleasing places was Snowdonia.
Summer rolls around, then we travel up to Snowdonia, and it's so nice. Like, the landscape is so overwhelming, and I definitely had got some of the best shots that I'd got in my career at that point.
The reason why it's such a great mountain to shoot is because of how it's formed. Snowdon's got such a visual peak, whereas Kinder Scout has got a flat top. To put it simply, one looks like an actual mountain, whereas the other one looks like a bunch of just rolling hills. Like, don't get me wrong, they're both great, but in terms of how they look on camera, Kinder Scout just doesn't compare at all.
After coming back from that trip, I watched Peter McKenna's bucket shot, and if you are in the arts industry or you just need to watch a video to get inspired, watch that video. It's so amazing. It's this great little film about this guy called Peter who travels all the way across the country to take his dream photo, and like, I don't think I've ever been that inspired by a video in like my entire life.
I would say that Dan probably watches it like once a week, maybe more.
And after like watching that, I just thought, what do I want to shoot that I will look on in a couple of years and think, wow, we had to go through something to get that shot? Because that's really the aim of the art form. You capture something and it's frozen in time forever. And I don't think I really have a bucket list shot. I just think I want to be in that snowy landscape environment. Like, I don't really know exactly what I want, but I think I'll know it when I see it.
Towards the end of autumn, we started checking weather apps every single day to see when there's a chance for snow. We find a small window in time where there is a slight chance it may be snowing, and we don't have any work for that weekend. So we instantly started prepping.
So we leave like a day early so that we're nice and prepared to go down. And then the drive down there, I start to get like a little bit excited because all the weather apps are starting to say that like there's going to be snow tonight. So that we're going to wake up and there's just going to be like a complete snowy landscape just waiting for us to shoot. So we get to the hotel and the next morning we wake up really, really early. We get up and we travel down to the park and there's no snow. I'm starting to get like a little bit worried at this point because we've walked about a mile into the park and there's still no snow. And the worst part is 100 meters up, all you can see is just fog. Really, really dense fog.
So Dan sends a drone up to see if we can see anything above, but it's all just still fog. You can't see anything. So we carry on walking, and after about 15 minutes we turn this corner. We see this pathway, and the higher and higher up you go, there's more snow. You can still see fog all around, but we can tell that we're about to walk into what we were planning for.
Just knowing that the landscape is covered in snow and it's exactly what we wanted, but knowing that it's just lying there underneath a dense amount of fog was just so frustrating.
We've only got up to the very, very bottom of the mountain and it's already like this. You cannot see, I'd say, about 100 foot in front of you. So hopefully later the sun clears it up a little bit. Still going to keep going though.
Once we get to the start of the mountain, we can see footprints leading up, but because the snow is literally knee deep, you can't see the actual path. We start getting further and further up, and there's points where we don't actually know how high up we are. There's an ever-changing mist behind us that keeps coming and going. So 1 minute you can see like a quarter of the landscape, and then the next minute you can literally be in a cloud.
You can see kind of a bit up it, to be honest. Yeah, you can't really see up the mountain. You can't really see down. We're just kind of in this void at the moment of nothingness.
Every single time that mist would clear, I'd quickly get into the bags, grab the cameras out and just start taking as many photos as possible. However, most of the time, before we could even pull the cameras out again, it was just covered by that white glow of fog.
I look at the weather app and it says it's going to take about 3 hours to become partly sunny.
We were already up like halfway up the mountain, so we thought we're already up this high, we might as well, you know, kill some time and go up to the top.
So far it had been a pretty easy climb, but the further that we got up, we saw like a frozen dead sheep that had obviously fallen and been killed. And behind it you can just see like a trail of blood that's leading up into the mist.
At that point, we said if it gets any worse and we physically can't do it, then we need to head back. Because as we passed that dead sheep, it got 10 times harder. And not only does the snow get even deeper, the fog gets so much more dense. There would be a few times where I'd put all pressure on one leg and I'd fall through just to my waist.
The last part that we really had to climb was a narrow path that led you up to a point where you could see the other side of the mountain.
You can't mess about with cameras when you're up there. You have to be 100% focused on that path. You have to be careful and you can't mess up. And you've got to remember, Snowdon has claimed lives before. And because there's just more and more snow coming, it's piling up on the floor, it's piling up on the wall beside it. It turns this like 2-person ledge into like a single file line.
The only way to make sure that you had grip was to literally jab your hands into the wall of snow next to you to create little pockets that you could hold onto. I'd say that it probably took us about half an hour to do the last 150 yards.
Every step you take just gets constantly harder and harder because you're constantly going up into more and more snow, into colder wind, into more dense fog. The worst part for me was that the moisture around the fur of my hood had obviously frozen, so I was basically just having a bunch of icicles around my hood, just, you know, constantly making my face cold.
Once we got to the top, it was a little bit underwhelming.
I just think to myself, like, this is great, I feel like I've achieved something here, but there's nothing to show for it. If you whip out a camera, you can't see anything, it's just white fog. We eventually sprint to the very, very top of the mountain and sprint back down because it's so cold. The moment we take our cameras out, the temperature just gets to us and our hands get so cold and we just have to pack away the cameras and just focus then on getting down.
We literally just couldn't stay up there any longer because it was just too cold.
So we're thinking of heading back down, and that's when we just realised there's a massive problem.
There's a group of about 5 people walking towards us and there's only a tiny space for people to get past.
There's this one man who's like kind of leading the group, and he's so impatient that he doesn't want to wait, you know, for a space to open to, you know, go around us. So what he does is he starts climbing like the snow wall next to us and starts making like footholds to go over us rather than, you know, just around us. And he slips right above me and he takes out my leg. Luckily for me, Emily grabs onto me and I've already got one leg, like, you know, up to my ankle in snow. So I get grip and I start to get my balance, but I just look over this ledge and there's just a drop and there's just this brief moment of like silence where everybody's just looking at this guy and thinking, what the hell was that? I think I was just scared more than angry, because after that me and Emily quickly got past them and we just started to head down. If you are going to climb Snowdon, no matter what condition it is in, even if it's snow, even if it's just completely dry, just take your time, play it safe, because, you know, the mountain's not a joke, it has claimed lives before. Just make sure you're careful.
After that incident, the rest of the way down, it was literally so easy. The weather just keeps getting better and better, and about halfway down, the sun comes out and the fog starts to clear. You can finally start to see the landscape, and we think this is it.
Me and Emily get down to the bottom, and the fog clears completely, and you can see all the peaks, and the landscape that we were literally looking for is literally just there. So I whip out my camera, and I just take as many shots as possible. I think I literally took about 1,000 photos within like a 10-minute time span.
It looks like it was shot in Canada or something. It doesn't even look like it was shot in the UK. It's amazing.
If you've climbed a mountain before, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like when you're there, everything just fades out, and you know, you're just left with that landscape, and everything just completely disappears. All your like all your worries and all your like just cares, they just fly out the window. I feel like this is why places like this are great to go to. If you've ever got any problems or worries, go to one of these places, just because they make all those problems and worries seem so small, because there's bigger things in this world.
Climbing up Snowdon, I thought it was very mentally and physically challenging,
Yeah.
but it was all worth it, when you get to the top and when you finally get down to the bottom. And like, you just get to see views like this, and it's just beautiful.
I don't know why you bought the cinema camera up there. It just seems kind of stupid. But those shots, oh my God, I need to get them.
Now that I've finished this goal, I think the only thing left to do is to wonder what to shoot next.